Hello everyone, my name is Wan Yi and I am going to present to you my CAIE final project. The title name is called AI-Powered Content Classification and Article Generation Tool. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I am a professional trainer and I have a website called LibreCloud Consulting, and I usually write articles in this website. You can call me a blogger that talks about interesting subjects like a website and also AI tools. So when I want to write such an article, my process is always to go to my mailbox, okay, to look for related articles regarding AI. All right. So I collect emails such as newsletters. Maybe sometimes I collect my own little bits of information. And I have accumulated quite a bit sent to my mailbox almost every day. So my problem as a content creator is basically I need to be able to digest very quickly what's trending now and what's popular now and what people are talking about now to actually quickly write an article or maybe share my insights or my thoughts about a particular subject matter. So as you can see, my inbox has like 24,000 unread emails because due to the nature of my work, I'm too busy to go through every single email and read them all and classify them whether it is suitable for certain types of people that will benefit from my articles. I'm writing articles targeting a few types of people. So I work with a lot of people from different industries, roles and motivations. And namely, I have identified about 5 of these people that I will likely to engage with, or sometimes I have a lot of questions relating to these 5 particular subjects. And the list keeps growing over time. As new things come in the AI industry, then there will be particular areas of concern that people will gradually start to wonder and also want more information about it. So this is the reason why I felt that, I really need an AI assistant to be able to help me make sense of what I actually have to make it a little bit more efficient when I try to think of new ideas and when I try to actually write a new article of a certain topic. One of the benefits of having this system is basically it helps me to reduce context switching when I'm planning and writing blog articles. So this is very important because every time I move my attention to a different tab, it takes me at least 20 minutes to get back into the flow of work. And I believe I'm not the only one that actually has this problem. A lot of people actually have this kind of problem as well. This is why you can see a lot of AI tools are starting to build more and more things within the application itself. Yeah. So I'm going to start with the basic source of my data, which is from my own work account. And the output is basically 3 things, a data pipeline and utilities that extract the content from newsletters, an auto-labeling utility based on the 5 different categories of content that I envision. And all this data will be uploaded to a content repository. So there will be a custom AI model that helps me to classify all these articles in time. And of course, there is also the WordPress plugin that connects to this API for tag classification of the article I'm writing. And it also helps me access the headlines and the descriptions in the content repository in case I want to have a list of recommended articles. So the methodology is basically there are 2 code bases that I'm working with, a data pipeline, machine learning and API project, and also a WordPress API plugin with LLM connectivity. Okay, so this is a basic flow of how my data pipeline, machine learning, and API works. So I will actually extract the data from the email. And I have done a little bit of surface research, and I know that some of my emails actually have 3 or 4 snippets of content in one email. So there's quite a little bit of data scraping there. When I actually process emails, and a local AI will be used to actually label the data to minimize the labeling work. All right, and I presume that I have around 300 or more than 300 snippets of descriptions that I have to go through to actually train a proper model. Now, the best practice in the industry now is you must have at least 100,000 snippets of content to be able to train a good SLM, a small language model, for this particular purpose. But of course, this is just to illustrate how we will actually go about the process. And scaling up should not be a problem once a basic workflow actually can be seen from this demonstration. And what happens after we have the model? We will actually host it through an API so that our WordPress plugin will be able to call it and get something done out of this trained API. So you can see that there's quite a bit of effort here in collecting the data, labeling the data, and also maintaining the API endpoint. The next part of my project, which is the other code base, is actually a WordPress plugin that is going to be installed in my website. Okay, and this plugin will be able to, use LLM models to create a basic article write-up. And as I work with the article, I can actually call the endpoint to predict, how to classify this particular article and what are the related articles that is useful for people who are reading this article. Now after that, I can actually save the generated content and the working content as a draft post on WordPress website, and I can further proofread and further edit and also add in more images and schedule the post to be published on the WordPress website whenever I am ready and have done the necessary search engine optimization. Now, I purposely do not include search engine optimization here because most search engine optimization endpoints are chargeable due to the constraint of budgets at the moment. All right, I will put that out of the story first, but of course, in the ideal scenario, I would love to have an A to Z process of getting an article that is about 80% ready to be posted. But for now, we try to scale down the scope of work so that we can actually have a minimum viable product. Okay, now some might wonder why I don't just straight away call the LLM and get it done. Nowadays, LLMs are quite powerful. It has the ability to build AI agents and everything can be done for you out of the box. But during my feasibility study that I conducted for the project, okay, if I were to do a regular LLM to do the filtering, it will be a bit slow if I run it on my local machine, and it will be quite expensive if I run it over the internet. And the other thing is, large language models are known to have bias and also hallucination. So in order to justify why I have to build a SLM model, I would like to point out to this particular research paper, which is called the dancing law of LLMs. And the conclusion of this paper, according to the dancing law, okay, specifically the parameter size, if you have like a parameter of a small language model that is 2.4 billion, it actually can achieve comparable or even superior performance compared to a minstrel 7 billion parameters. So based on this paper, it actually means that due to the advancement of the algorithms, we are going to expect a lot of smaller models that can perform as good as the bigger models that we see today, such as ChatGPT, Gemini, or even Claude. There is really never a good time to train your own SLM, which I'm going to actually demonstrate here, and what are the things that we should look out for when we are training our own AI models. There are some technologies that I'll be utilizing in this project. One of it is Supabase. Okay, so it is there's a free plan, so for people like me who are just exploring things, this database will be used as a content repository for my project, and the output is actually on a WordPress website, which I will demonstrate in a bit. So first of all, I have to point out to you there are two projects here. One is called the SILAJU project, the other one is called the SILAJU AI plugin. Both repositories will be listed in the YouTube description below. So do check out the links if you are interested to see what I do. So this is the part where I'm going to actually show you a walkthrough of my results and the project code bases. So SILAJU project is basically referring to this workflow where there is a data pipeline, machine learning, and the API that is created to actually get the machine learning model working and consumable by my WordPress plugin. So let's walk through what are the important bits of my code so that everybody will get a very good understanding of what is happening inside. I'm just going to point out a few important things about my project. So most of the utility tools are actually stored here under the source folder, while the data folder actually contains the raw data and also the process output of the extraction. Okay, so after I extract data and I also labeled the data, I will usually perform what we call an EDA process, exploratory data analysis. And in the EDA results, you will find that there's a few reports here that is very helpful to gauge how balanced the extracted data is from the data pipeline. So after that, I will actually run a training model code that produces the output files. Okay, so these are basically AI models that is trained based on my data. After that, there will be a API server that is running to actually offer the classifying functionalities of the models. So the first file I'm going to walk through is basically the Gmail extractor. The Gmail extractor is actually a Python code that actually connects to the Google API to actually extract emails from a certain email account. Of course, you actually have to set up the Google Gmail API, which can be done through the Google platform. And all the credentials are actually saved in a credential.json file. Okay, which is actually part of a git ignore for security reasons. If you guys want to actually try this code out, please feel free to get your own API key to run through this code. So this Gmail email extractor is basically a module which is going to be used in my main.py, which actually has an outline of what it's supposed to do. So this is SILAJU, okay, project, and I am going to extract headline and descriptions from the email. And for now, I'm going back to the last 6 months, okay, which has emails sent by this particular address. All right, so after that, I will extract everything and it will eventually end up in a raw file called the email scraping results. So let me open that file and let you see what actually ends up in this file. Okay, so basically I have my headline and also I have my description here. Okay, and just to illustrate an idea of how the email actually looks like before it ends up in a very nice format like this, this is one of the emails from this particular newsletter called the Rundown AI. What it does is it actually retrieves the email and it has to intelligently know how to identify this headline and also this description. Of course, there will be some processes of stripping and also to basically clean up the data before it ends up in the Excel sheet. But that is also part of the data pipeline processing. So one email has about 5 headlines, okay, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so usually I will actually tap out I will also extract a bit of the description here so that it's easier for the classifier to learn how to classify this email based on the 5 different categories of classifications, which we'll get to it later. For now, this is a minimum viable product. We do not actually do any analysis on the images, but we only extract the text out of the emails. Yeah. So the challenge here in this particular email extraction tool is most of my emails, especially the newsletters, are actually in HTML format. Yeah, so going through the content in HTML is not exactly easy unless you study each and every one of them to understand how is it structured, which I think took a bulk of my development time to just figure out for this particular newsletter. And I have at least 10 or 20 more similar newsletters with bits of content inside that is good as source content to actually train up my AI model. So coming back, okay, so this is how it ends up, okay. You have the headline without the emoji and also a very compressed version of the description. Yeah, okay. So this is how we will actually look at this, okay. And this is the whole text. Here you can see it. Once I have the email scraping results here, the next step is to basically tag it or label it. To actually do labeling of so many results, okay, one extraction is already about 300 records, okay. All right, for me to actually go through one by one to actually label it, I'm not saying impossible, but if there is a way to actually get half the work done, I think it would be a very good idea to utilize that. Yeah, so this is the reason why I developed something called the data labeler utility. So this is the data labeler utility that will basically do labeling of my data. So it will actually go through the scraping results, okay, and it will produce a process labeled data set, okay, which is in Excel format. Okay, so the reason why I choose Excel format is because it's easier for me to validate what is the output. So in my experience doing auto labeling, at first I was using OpenRouter, but I actually start to hit a limit on the OpenRouter plans. So it was not quite conducive for the progress of the project. So I decided to actually use local AI to help me complete the task. I was using a Quen coder model, okay, on the local AI. Plus, I'm also using LM Studio as the inference tool to actually get it running on my computer. Okay, so if you're wondering how fast is my computer, I have actually indicated the specs of my Mac machine at the bottom in the YouTube description, so do check it out. Okay, but overall, I would say when it actually goes through each and every single data here, it takes about 5 to 6 seconds before it actually classify it 5 labeling criteria. So this is the annotation schema that I am planning to use if I were to do it as a human. Right, so basically I have these 5 groups of people that is likely to come and read my articles, or 5 types of topics that I will be covering in my article writing process. So it's basically for the creative industry, or IT enthusiasts, or business owners, or even e-commerce players that actually have, you know, very voluminous problems like a lot of data, a lot of analytics, sales, and also marketing, and also workflow, and also communications. So basically, I would say there are some agentic AI also can be actually useful for a e-commerce case study. And of course, the one big important subject nowadays is called cybersecurity and also ethics. So this will be classified under policy. Each of this column is basically only 2 values. It's either true or false. So after running through the code, basically this is what I get. Alright, so this is an example of how my output actually looks like. The SILAJU train label 300 records. Okay, so you can basically see that is the headline, there's a description as usual, and additional columns of its creative, enthusiast, business, and e-com, and also its policies here. And all these 1 and 0s are actually labeled by our good friend, the Quen coder AI model. Yeah, okay, so notably, okay, how it actually knows what to label or how to gauge is basically in the data labeler itself. You can basically see the classification labels, the schema, and also the instructions that I have given it. So if I needed to change the criteria or even add on more classification, I can just basically change this part. And also the system prompt that actually sent to the language model so that it actually can do its job properly. Other than the system prompt, what I have also learned is if you wanted to do data labeling, the rate of temperature, Okay, sometimes you can adjust it so that it is a little bit more accurate in doing basic classification properly. Of course, the other consideration I have made was whether I should use a deep thinking model to actually understand the whole context of the article itself. But of course, that is actually introducing a few new restrictions. For example, my machine is not powerful enough to actually run a deep thinking model. 2, it may take longer time. Instead of 5 seconds per record to actually get a result back, each record will probably take 10 or 20 seconds. Instead of saving time, it actually makes the process even longer for data labeling. So again, a human always needs to go in and actually take a look and adjust accordingly. And of course, after this, we are going to actually investigate to see how balanced our data is. Okay, so this is an idea of how the system prompt actually looks like. All right, so as you can see, the category definitions are marked down inside here, and I can make adjustments to this whenever I need to. Now, since I am using a local LLM, the Quen Coder, I have actually used LM Studio to help me gauge, okay, which models I should use for this auto labeling process. So initially, in my first attempt, okay, I was basically using Llama 3.2 3B instruct. Yeah, okay. So in LM Studio, you can load any models you can find on Hugging Face. They actually have a very good interface on that. It can also tell you whether your machine is powerful enough to actually run the LM model. And also because we are using a system prompt, okay, we can actually set some presets here in order to make it easier for me to test my system prompts. So in LM Studio, I can actually modify how the LLM behave by setting into the context and also the model settings here. So as you can see, my system prompt is parked inside here, while my model here allows me to actually set the temperature, okay, that is required before I actually put in all the necessary snippets of code to actually start testing the classification process. Okay, so I was asking the model to only output in JSON format, but unfortunately, Llama 3.2 was not able to understand my instruction, and they usually end up giving things like the rundown OpenAI rehearsing and the. Alright, so again, it might sound very strange, okay, but this is also the reason why in my earlier tests on this, I end up getting a lot of very bad labeling, like enthusiast, business, and econ and policy, because it was not able to understand the JSON format that came out of the AI model. So that's why from this experience, it just basically tells me always test your system prompt. Always test your system prompt before actually committing it to code, so that you reduce time in debugging it. Yeah. So just to let you see how a successful prompt will look like. Okay, so you can see there's a very big difference between whether a JSON format looks like this or a JSON format actually looks like this. So this is why I felt that, okay, Quen 3 Coder is probably the better model that can understand my instructions better. Yeah, so that's how I made the decision to actually stick to Quen 3 Coder further along the line in my project when I was starting to optimize, okay, the results. All right, so I end up with a new train labeled 300, and I have went through it, and I sort of understand that, okay, it looks like it's labeling things quite well, and it looks much more sensible compared to the old not so good ones. Okay, this is what we call eyeballing. Yeah, so after the eyeballing process, okay, again, these are 300 records here. It's very hard for a human to know what's the balance of the data. I mean, am I having too many articles that is creative, or too many articles for AI enthusiasts, or too many articles for e-commerce people, or too many articles for policy? So I have developed a separate tool that can basically help me understand okay, what sort of data I'm working with. Okay, so basically labeling data is a process of feature engineering, and we have managed to successfully complete that. Okay, and the next part is really to understand what kind of data we actually have and is it balanced enough. So we move on to post-data labeling and also exploratory data analysis. I am going to use my exploratory data analysis Python file. Okay, and this is the file where I will load up the data into pandas, and it will start to do some analysis on whether the data is biased or skewed in one way. So the general consensus here is if you are training an AI model and your source data is skewed or biased, then the result or the performance of the AI model will be also skewed and biased. So ideally, I want to know where exactly the gap is. Do I have enough articles, okay, for a AI model? And, basically, do I need to collect more newsletters of a specific topic or something, right? So after running this code, goes through the whole thing, and it actually produces a summary and also a few charts that is useful for me to understand, okay, where are the gaps in my data set right now. Yeah, so according to the analysis, let me just quickly show you what is produced after you run the code. So this is basically the exploratory data analysis. I have also helpfully provided you a Jupyter Notebook version if you guys want to actually have a look at it. And the EDA results folder basically have all the different charts and also observations that is basically very useful to understand my data a little bit better compared to looking at rows and columns. Okay, so these are the different kind of combinations that is applicable in my multi-column and multi-classification model. But the most interesting thing is also the summary. Yeah, so from this summary itself, I can basically understand where are the potential gaps in my data set itself. So I've done a little bit of analysis with the help of ChatGPT because I'm not a trained data analytics person, and also I'm very new to this AI metrics and evaluation. But this is basically what it is actually telling me, right? So based on the results that I get, okay, my data right now has a moderate skew. It's not completely one-sided, but it's not very balanced. Okay, so there are some combinations that is dominating. All right, so I don't know which ones yet. If I really eyeball it for 300 records, I can still eyeball it. Yeah, but I have more than 300 records. It's not going to be so easy. So at least I have a very good idea in a very surface level what I should look out for in terms of entropy and also Gini index. Okay, so what are the kind of missing combinations that I am getting, right? So it actually does a heat map. Okay, one thing I have to say is my multi-classification model does not depend on any correlation at all. So this is for Kramer's V pairwise, just additional info, but not very important at this point. However, it does point out a very glaring gap when it says that e-commerce and policy-related articles and headlines are noticeably distant from the overall pool of classification categories that I have. So I think this warrants a little bit of investigation further down the line. So yeah, okay. So of course, I have my personal take when I look at my own data at this point. It basically means that if I were to use this AI model for recommending articles, I will not run out of articles to suggest, basically in the business or enthusiasts or creative people, right? So again, humans being humans, we are quite forgiving and we do have our own brains to filter what kind of articles that's relevant to us. So it's not really a bad thing after all. However, it does point out to me that, you know what, I need to actually beef up on the e-commerce and also the cybersecurity or safety policy type of articles and headlines and news. So I will probably work on that when it comes to collecting data. So we move on to training and evaluating the model. So in this particular phase, we are not exploring the data anymore, but we are actually putting the data into a model to see what kind of outcome that will appear. So in order for me to actually conduct the training and also evaluating an AI model, I have written up a little bit of code to actually get the certain model output files. So back to my code. Okay, so basically the train model is this one, train multi-label classifier py. Okay, and in this file, I have taken a liberty to make some design decisions that will make it easier for people to locate the output files, right? First of all the output files, there will be two files that are produced from this AI training, and it will be saved under the models subfolder. Okay, so there will be a model name, the model label classifier, and also the vectorizer. I have also employed the strategy of putting timestamps in my file name, okay, so that I can see which particular model is the most recent one. This is just to help me to be able to identify every time I change the recipe for training the AI model, I would know which one and when was it trained or what time. Of course, this can be further improved. I'm just doing one AI training model at a time, so not so intense, but I realized that in a actual working environment, AI model training can run concurrently with different parameters. And at the end of the day, what matters most is the evaluation metrics of all these models so that we can select the best model for our use case. So in this code itself, you will appreciate that at the end of it, okay, I actually have the accuracy. Okay, I have actually designed some metrics, okay, that is going to help me identify the accuracy of the multi-classification model, and also some numbers that can help me decide how accurate the data is. So I'm not going to run the code here, but I'm going to show you a screenshot of what I've done previously. Because I'm actually building a multi-label classifier, so there are actually other metrics that I can use to determine whether the model is going to do its job well or not. Yeah, so there is two metrics here called the Hamming loss and also the subset accuracy. And I do have some explanation here in the next slide what it actually means. So this is a summary. Again, thanks to ChatGPT for explaining this. All right. I would actually more emphasize on Hamming loss because my concern here is whether the AI model is able to classify articles accurately or not. It does not need to have all labels exactly correct. Even if, let's say, for example, I give my AI model in an article that is relating to creative people making money building an AI tool to help people produce videos, right? Okay, so I would normally classify this as a business related article and also creative related article. Right? But even if the AI model fails to identify that it is a business-related article as well, okay, it's still not the end of the world because, I mean, we still have readers from the creative side that will actually appreciate the article. Yeah, so it's not do or die scenario. But of course, ideally, when I run training for my AI models, I will aim for the lower Hamming loss, okay, as low as possible, this particular metric. Just the takeaway, yeah, I'm measuring the overall error rate, okay. I'm not saying F1 is not useful. F1 is good for general measurement purposes, but because this is a multi-label classifier, I would actually say Hamming loss is basically a very good number to actually have in the process of trying out different AI training recipes I can do to basically get the right type of AI model that works good in my use case. This is the evaluation report once I have completed the whole training. And again, I have used a ChatGPT to basically help me assess and also to understand what actually it means, just as expected. During the exploratory data analysis stage, we have already identified that the e-commerce and policy is not enough. There's not enough data there to actually create a balanced data set. Therefore, what happened after you use it to train your AI model is expected. The AI model cannot identify it. It's underrepresented, okay, per label performance. So this is basically to reinforce the fact that I need to find more e-commerce related articles and also cybersecurity related articles to make it a little bit more comprehensive, to make it perform a little bit better. Of course, the other scenario or the other option is to totally ignore classification for e-commerce and policy at all, and only focus on improving the business, enthusiast, and creative type of articles. I can actually choose that as well. But of course, moving forward, which one I will pick, it really depends on how I navigate through the tons of content that I have been collecting so far in my email. So there's a lot of work left to do when it comes to deciding what is my path forward. But having these numbers, it's very good. It's very, very interesting and eye-opening to know how healthy your data is when it comes to building your own AI model. To me, this is really very important. Practical next steps, I would actually try to improve a few numbers and metrics by changing different algorithms. In short, your model is good as what it sees often, bad at what it rarely sees. So I have to teach this model by exposing it to more e-commerce related and also policy related articles. And also I have to rebalance my training data. Yeah, so that I can improve the F1 numbers and also the Hamming loss. All right, so moving on next, we will talk about the API server. So the API server answers the question where, okay, I've got this AI model ready and I want to use it in my context. So when an AI model is trained up, the output for this training is basically a job-lib files here. So there's a vectorizer and there's also a multi-label classifier. So in order for me to actually make this into a executable or callable tool that can be used either in a workflow or REST API call, I have created a file called the API server.py. So API server.py will take the models from the multi-label classifier and the vectorizer, and also connects to Supabase as well to actually get the email data. So in this API itself, there is a few checkpoints that is worth noting. So there's one part here that I forgot to mention is basically the uploader. Okay, so load to Supabase. Okay, so this is a separate file that actually helps me upload my trained label datasets into Supabase itself so that I can actually access it in case I want to find recommended articles. So basically just a very quick run through of how it looks like in my Supabase. So I have my project and I do have a table here that actually has all the data, that has all the related labels. If I'm following through my idea here, all right, I have to expose two points here, my API points here, to actually predict what is the category of the article and also what are the related articles that I can insert with the articles that I'm writing. So two particular endpoints here that I will actually create in the FastAPI. Okay, so for this part of the project, what I will do is I will run the server so that you can actually see what is happening. All right, so this is the back-end monitoring of the server. It looks like this, but I have to actually run it first. So my project is actually based on the UV. So give me a bit of time so that I can actually get this set up. So I will just make sure I am in the VNV first. And I will actually use the UVCon to run the API. Okay. All right. So this is the API code. Okay. And it's running on this particular URL. So welcome to the SILAJU Multi-Label Text Classifier API. It does two things. It helps you classify tags or category of articles. And it also has the ability to get related articles from Superbase itself. Like I mentioned, I actually uploaded data in the Superbase already. So it will basically be able to match. If I wanted to retrieve some policy articles, I can actually just use this tool to actually test the API. Now, the one thing that I appreciate about this is FastAPI is actually very helpful and very useful because it makes things so much easier to test. For example, if I wanted to test whether the prediction label is correct or not, okay, so I just click this open and I can try it out. And I can put in some text inside here and I can click on the execute button. Yeah. So after that, I can actually see what is the response here and see which category it becomes. So you can see that it's actually trying to categorize as enthusiast and also as business. It actually calls the AI model to actually give an answer of how it would classify all this. Yeah, okay, so this is basically really from the trained AI model. So let me go back to the backend and show you. So that particular endpoint is called predict, right? So okay, so let me just show you here. So there you go. So this is the endpoint called predict. Okay, so it actually takes the text to predict, which is what I just sent in, and it will actually go to the vectorizer and transform it. And then after that, it will just go into the output model. Okay, so classifier here basically points back to the classifier file that I have loaded here. Here, loading the model in the clients. Okay, so you have the classifier and you have the vectorizer. So it's really based on the trained model itself. So from here, I can actually test and check whether the trained model is actually functioning well when it comes to identifying, okay, what kind of category the snippet is based on. All right, so another feature that I've added in the API is related articles. All right, so I will come back here and I will just close this out and I look at the data related articles. Okay, so in the data related articles here, let's say if I wanted to fetch records from Superbase that relating to a particular type of article. So I could basically just try it out, same thing. And I say I wanted to find things that are related to policy. Yeah, and I'll just click on execute. And it will basically show me a list of articles that is related to policy. So you can see the headline here, and then AI security is ready for 2026. Microsoft established new super intelligence team. So all these are really very policy related kind of articles. And you can actually see the matching metrics here as well. Of course, this will be further improved as time goes on. As and when we have new data coming in, I will actually upload the Superbase to have the latest articles. So it's just easy for me to bring up what's the latest news or what's the related news regarding this particular subject. Again, simple but useful tools that I can basically use in my WordPress plugin later on. Since we have the SILAJU project done up already, we will now go ahead to the next part of my project, which is the SILAJU AI plugin. The SILAJU AI plugin is actually a WordPress plugin. As mentioned earlier in the video, I'm actually a blogger on a WordPress website, and we are going to go through the workflow. So basically in the SILAJU project, you already have the data pipeline, the machine learning model, and also the API developed, and also the API endpoint available for any software to connect to it. So SILAJU AI plugin is the next part of this solution, okay, where a person like me, a WordPress blogger, will be able to access this tool to actually speed up and also simplify some processes. So this is basically the workflow. I've ensured there's actually a human in the loop here to basically be able to work with the articles, because personally, I don't believe in AI generated articles. All right, every single article that we produce should have some sort of human input on it. So which I am determined to do this. But in my experience, writing an article, especially when you start writing more than 1,000 or even 5,000 word article, it takes quite a bit of time. Yeah, one article a week to some people is very extremely challenging. So that's why LLMs, generative AI, is heavily used in our industry to produce articles or even help in the ideation process and also writing process. So for this particular part of the development work, I have employed something called Local by Flywheel. Okay, so this is Local by Flywheel. It's actually an app that is helping us WordPress developers to actually build up websites, different types of websites. So this is still in development stage. So I actually develop it on my own local computer. And I will just open up this website to show you what is in there. This is my demo website and I have already logged in. So let me just go to the dashboard. Now I have my project already inside the WordPress and I have already activated it. The SILAJU AI plugin is a plugin, okay, that works in WordPress. So what happens is I will go into plugins, I copy over the file into the WordPress folder, and I actually see the plugin here and I activated it. So I actually get the menu here, the SILAJU AI plugin. And inside here, the first screen is basically the API settings. So this particular AI plugin is connecting to Google Gemini, okay, which is the Gemini API I'm connecting to for all my text generation and also image generation needs. Of course, there are some challenges in using Google Gemini APIs, especially when it comes to image generation. But again, with a little bit of investment, it's not so much of a problem. For now, my SILAJU API endpoint is running off of localhost, okay, which is actually still running. So when I deploy it in the future, I can easily change this out to a hosted version of my SILAJU endpoint if I need to. Yeah. Okay, so what is inside this AI plugin? We will go into text generation. Okay, and this is basically the screen news for my article creation needs. All right, so what do I want to write today? So I'll just, type in something simple. Okay, so I can just click on generate article. Okay, so it's generating the text and it should come out inside the area box on the right hand side. All right, so you can see that, okay, using AI generally increase the creative works. Okay, so let me move myself away. All right, so idea generation, okay, efficiency, time saving. Okay, now this is just a baseline thing. Okay, it's not really, how I say, complete. A human still needs to go in there to actually fine-tune or build things. But when an article is ready, let's pretend an article is ready in the generated content here. Let's say I put here, okay, of course, there is still the subject of copyright ownership, which is for another article. Okay, all right, so yeah, okay, and I can just click on get tags, all right, to classify this article. So when I click on get tags, okay, it will just predict that, okay, this one is related to 2 different tags. So I'll just click on OK, and it has decided that, okay, it has something to do with business and also something to do with enthusiasts. Yeah. So of course, again, I will not comment on the accuracy of this tagging. Okay, but the point is, it should be able to identify what kind of text that's suitable for this article. Okay, so other than this, since it has already detected that it is under business and also enthusiasts, okay, I as a human, I can actually dispute this AI decision, which I think it is very important. Okay, I will dispute this decision. I know my AI model is not ready for prime time, because it is not even able to detect that it's themes, styles. These are words related to creatives. Yeah. So I would want to argue with this. Okay. I don't want business, but I want to target more creative and enthusiasts. Yes. Content creators. All right. That's what we do. Okay. Now, and then I'll just click on suggest headlines just to get more related articles. Okay. 3 paragraphs is hardly enough for a 1,000 word article, which is a standard practice in the SEO world. So I'll just click on suggest headlines and it will go into Superbase and look up articles that is related to creative and also enthusiast. All right, so you can actually see, okay, so polished presentations, okay, image AI generation, okay, and edit video scenes. Okay, so it seems that, you know, I actually have related content that I can add on to my content itself. So there are a few interesting things going on here, which actually indicates that you still need to have a human in the loop of things when you create your articles. So for now, for a small blogger like me who doesn't actually have a budget to run big LLMs for the purpose of end-to-end articles, this will do, and it gives me space to work with my content, which I appreciate. So after doing up some additional things inside here, which I feel that, okay, it's enough, I can just click on create a draft post, and it will actually put this article inside a WordPress post. So it will ask me, would you like to edit the post now? I will say okay. And it will open up the post for me like this. So I can change the title. Another notable thing is you might notice that it's actually in draft mode, which is exactly as designed. And I can continue to add on more things here. All right, for example, I just want to save draft. I will show you another feature that I actually have in the app itself, which is the image generation. Okay, so I can just go back into my dashboard. Okay, so you can see my new article is here. I can go to my SILAJU plugin and go into image generation. And here I can actually create a prompt. Okay, so I can choose how many images that I want to create. So I got 2 if I want to. And I can just click on generate images. All right. So there you go. Okay, so I've got 2 different images here, a bit colorful and vibrant. Okay, maybe this is really good. Okay, so so once I have decided, okay, which one is better, like this one actually has more expression in eyes, less green. Okay, there you go. All right, I can add this to my media library. Okay, and after that, I can actually go back to my post, add in the image, and I can select from my media library, which I actually have the bot here. Yeah. So there you go. All right. Again, the point here is this WordPress plugin is going to help me reduce context switching. Context switching basically means I don't need to switch my tab to a different tool to generate the content or to generate the text and copy and paste over. Yeah, almost everything can be done within the same platform itself, and it actually improves productivity and also reduces distraction. I look forward to improving this WordPress plugin a little bit more. In the gist, it's useful for now to actually help me get things done. Before I end this demonstration, there's also the matter of tags, right? So before this, we actually asked it to tag an article, okay? And I was arguing, okay, this is not correct. So we changed it to creative and also enthusiast. So in the WordPress article itself, if you look towards the right hand side, other than having the status is draft, if you scroll down, you can see the tags here. It actually tags this for you. It's either creative or enthusiast. So when I actually publish this article on my website, I will actually see these additional tags inside my article. So basically, I can actually see the related tags here. Okay. So what's the result? It makes it easier for people to actually go to my other articles in my website. So this is basically 101 in WordPress. All right. So this is not a WordPress class. But if anybody is interested in attending a WordPress class, please let me know. All right. But yeah, so this is SILAJU AI plugin. Okay. Partly inspired by other AI plugins that I've seen in the market. But it's good to actually have one of my own to actually design my own system prompts and plenty of things I can actually modify and improve in this particular plugin. And I look forward to doing more of that. Okay, so we're now going to go through a conclusion. Okay, some thoughts, personal thoughts in doing this project. It's been fun. A lot of things to explore, a lot of new things that I didn't know Visual Studio can do. And AI training model is a very extremely big field to actually get better in. coming from a previous software engineering experience. Yeah. So there's still so much that I don't know yet. And things in the AI field is still growing, it's still advancing, and a lot of things to play. Yeah, even the subject of data pipelines, EDAs, model training and evaluation, creating endpoints and hosting an application. I haven't even went down to the level of deploying the app yet, which I presume will be another challenge. So coming from my previous software engineering experience, okay, so definitely I've learned a lot by building this project. 2 different code bases, one Python and one PHP. I don't think, I could do it on my own. I have to make a personal note that I have to thank ChatGPT, Gemini, and Claude for this. Okay, if it wasn't for them, I don't think I would know what to do next. So there are 2 types of AI that I used here, which is the deterministic AI model, which I built myself. And there's also another one called the generative AI model, which is tools like Gemini and, the hosted big LLMs, okay, things that I cannot run on my own machine. All right. So I would say that deterministic AI models is, I wouldn't say easy, but there's a lot of mathematics. There's a lot of mathematics and there's a lot of very data-driven decision making behind every single task and every single step. And it definitely will benefit from a lot of automation work in the future. And I'm looking forward to actually be more involved. Maybe I will actually start extracting my own marketing data to actually design a much more comprehensive automated AI generation thing for my blog. But I can see potential here. There's also very good parts about LLMs that is actually benefiting people who don't have a lot of data. In fact, if you ask me, my personal take is we use LLM to create content to help us get data that can help us build AI models. Right? So I would be exploring this particular bit of work in my own business. So which is great, and I can't wait to share more of my learning journey and also my experiments to the greater public. Stay tuned to my YouTube channel here. Okay, yes, I know it's a shameless plug, but since this video is on my YouTube channel, subscribe. Yeah. Okay. But of course, at the end of the day, doesn't matter what AI you use, the end of the day, the end user makes the final say. If I were to build this tool, or maybe I market this plugin to the masses and charge a subscription fee, at the end of the day, it is still depends on the user whether they will want to continue using my AI tool or not. Which is why, for now, I think AI for personal use cases, it's extremely good. It's extremely good thing to look into to make your own life easier. Yeah. But whether it will be big enough or have that very specific value proposition that people want to use it in the future, that really depends. How fast I can get enough data, quality data, to actually produce an AI model that can actually be useful in specific use cases. So I would say very, very interesting thought process in this whole experience of building an AI model. But sometimes I do stop and wonder, how does it look like in the future for a AI builder? Again, there's a lot of room to maneuver, a lot of different ideas that we can consider building an AI model for. We just need to have to look closer and also observe a little bit more. It's fun to get into, and I have to say, I was starting to get addicted with all the numbers that I'm getting. But the one thing that is very tough when it comes to machine learning models is as your data gets bigger, it will take longer time to actually get an AI model trained. And of course, I'm not working off very powerful GPUs on my machine, which brings me to the point that it will get very expensive as my, models and the type of data that I'm going to use to train up a model gets bigger and bigger. Yeah. But again, it's very interesting. Yeah, to actually identify or how to improve the data collection processes, data cleaning processes, so that at the end of the day, when you spend so much time training an AI model, the output is accurate enough to benefit people, to actually help people. Yeah, so it's interesting, yeah, to look at it from this perspective. Yeah. But of course, in the bigger team, I can already envision in the bigger team, I think having good communication and also a very strong data control versioning system is going to help a lot. This coming from a software engineering background, I can now truly appreciate what MLOps really is and the difference between MLOps and DevOps. Yeah, but the goal is the same. The goal is the same. Okay. Is it going to create a more stable development process for everyone? And it's going to actually promote maintainability and scalability in the AI project. Of course, this applies to, bigger setups and bigger companies that deals with terabytes of data. So that I can truly appreciate, okay, what MLOps really is. And I haven't even got deep into the subject of MLOps, especially when it comes to AI security. But it is actually slowly opening up in the industry itself to talk more about cybersecurity in terms of the AI models itself. So very interesting area to look into. Now, one of the surprising things in my experience of building this project, I didn't want to build just a ChatGPT wrapper. Yeah, I mean, technically, my WordPress plugin is a ChatGPT wrapper. Of course, it's a Gemini wrapper. But the thing here is I have had no prior experience of building a WordPress plugin. Yeah. My WordPress plugin development knowledge is stuck in version 4 when the current version of WordPress is already version 6. Yeah, so I was like expecting, I probably bite off more than I can chew when I designed this project in the initial stages. But you know what? I'm up to the challenge, so I did it anyway. Yeah, and fortunately, there are AI tools that can actually help generate the necessary code that you need to put in the end result. And yes, I've done ample work in also testing the codes, and it works pretty good. All right, it's easier to get into. I think when they say it has effectively democratized the way we build software, it is very true. Yeah, so I would say even a complex thing like building a plugin for a big CMS system like WordPress, okay, it becomes so much easier when you have an AI assistant. Of course, it does help when you have a very clear vision and also, some experience using similar plugins, to inspire this version of the, SILAJU AI plugin. So I think that is great. Okay. Now, embarking in an AI project, if we talk about scope, people know me as a person who is very ambitious. I do not doubt that. I admit that sometimes when we scope out projects, we are very, very ambitious. You know what? When the bottom line is there, when you actually have to produce results, the one thing I can tell myself is stubbornness does not help. If I really had insisted that, okay, things must go A, B, C, D, E, and it should not change. I cannot rework this. I cannot change this to a different model or different way of getting AI to help me. So I don't use AI at all. I think this project itself would have taken me 2 months to finish. And that's a very, very optimistic estimate. Yeah. So again, I would say stubbornness does not help. Adapt and change. So in my case, this was just for the purpose of a project, a very small product, just to demonstrate that it is possible to do such a thing. Okay. The only missing thing is the deployment. Okay. But, we can change. Our systems can change to be adaptive to AI. Yeah. Okay. So I would say I will continue this project's development. I can see potential there. What's missing is just maybe my collection strategy needs to be changed. But it is all thanks to a data analysis work so that I know how to move forward. Yeah. And I think vibe coding has also increased my confidence level. Yeah, in approaching difficult projects. Yeah, so I wouldn't feel too anxious of not being able to produce, a working solution technically. Although I technically have left the software development industry for a very long time. But getting back into it, I think it's a lot easier when you have that kind of experience. Yeah. So of course, there's one very small part of my brain that, the old school programmer brain. Okay, yes, I do feel that there are many times that I've used AI to generate codes. Yeah, much more than I really should. Yeah, if you ask me, okay, isn't there supposed to be a learning process when I write codes? Actually, we do. We do have learning processes, but for now, I think being adaptive is more important. So if an AI can do something better than you, use AI. Yeah, because the world is actually faster than how fast you can think. Yeah, so I think being flexible, being open to change, open to new tools, open to new way of works, I think it will actually help you get an advantage. So of course, I have no idea how the future will look like, but it is, very easy for a person who does not have technical knowledge to assume that vibe coded products are ready to be released in public. I admit this is just really a minimum viable product. Things can break in my sample codes. I wouldn't say it's extremely ready to be published for public news or for production news. Okay, so please be very careful if you're downloading my code from GitHub. Please feel free to improve it as you need. Okay, it's not copyrighted to me. All right, but I'm just for demonstration purposes, I think it's good enough for me. Yeah, for my own use case. So thank you very much for watching this demo video, and I was very happy to actually show you what I have produced in my project. It's not as sexy as some people might think, but I believe that the learning objectives have been achieved. Yeah, and I look forward to doing more and building more AI stuff, not just for myself, and also for public news in the future. So again, add the star to my GitHub repository if it really helps you. All right, but thank you very much for watching this video. See you when I see you.